Today we're making the easiest bread in the world, a grilled flatbread. I'll be honest with you, now that COVID is over, I don't bake my own bread. There's the mess and the scheduling of all the rising and proofing and preheating the oven forever and ever. It's just not worth it to me given the fact that I can buy excellent bread 5 minutes from my house. But this little flatbread is something I make all the time because it's completely hassle-free. But first, a quick announcement. If you want to know when I post new videos, join my Patreon community for free. This is not an attempt to get a donation for my channel. It's just a way to deal with the fact that YouTube notifications suck. Now back to flatbread. You have to plan ahead a little because the dough needs an overnight rest in the fridge. It can be made anywhere between 1 and 4 days before you want to grill, so you have a lot of flexibility. And no, I don't recommend you freeze it. I tried, it's not very good. Put 14 grams of olive oil into a 2-cup container. Repeat with the second container. My recipe produces 2 flatbreads, so we need 2 containers. Swirl to coat the walls with oil. In a medium bowl, weigh 226 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour. I'm using King Arthur brand. Add 1 teaspoon of SAF instant yeast. Why not active dry yeast? That's in the FAQ section of this video. Add 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar and 2 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt or 1 teaspoon of table salt. Take the bowl off the scale and mix with a spoon for a minute. There is no way to see that your ingredients are evenly distributed, but a full minute of mixing is plenty. Put the bowl back on the scale and zero it out. Make a well in the center of the flour and pour in 158 grams of room temperature water. Take the bowl off the scale and start mixing. Keep your wet ingredients in the center. Add a little flour from the walls of the well and mix vigorously. Add some more and mix again. When the mush in the center forms a lump, your mixing should start to look like kneading. In other words, you'll start folding the dough towards you. See how with my right hand I'm folding the dough and with my left hand I'm rotating the bowl after each fold. If you are comfortable with hand kneading, you can clean off the spoon and proceed with folding using your hand. If you're not comfortable with hand kneading, you can continue to use the spoon. If you're using a spoon, the best way to clean it off is to use another spoon. To make it easier to knead the dough with a spoon, hold it lower. See, like this. You'll have more power than holding it by the handle. Once all the flour is absorbed and the dough starts to stick to the bottom of the bowl, you are done. We're not quite there yet, so let's give it a few more folds. Here! Stop kneading as soon as you get to this stage. More kneading means more gluten development, which means more shrinkage when you try to stretch the dough into a thin flatbread. That's why store-bought pizza dough is so difficult to work with. It's kneaded too much. As soon as you don't see any more powdery flour, you are done. Dunk your spoon into one of the oiled containers and cut the dough in half. You don't need to be too precise. It's okay. One flatbread is slightly bigger than the other. Shape each half into a shaggy ball. Put the balls into your oiled containers. Smooth the top with an oiled spoon. Cover and set a timer for 45 minutes. Then put the containers in the fridge overnight or up to 4 days. Here is the dough right after making, and here it is after a night in the fridge. It will roughly double in volume and form lots of bubbles. If you have a stand mixer, the process is even faster. Mix all the dry ingredients, fit the mixer with a pedal attachment and run it on low speed while pouring in the water. Increase the speed slightly and run until most of the flour is absorbed. Stop the mixer, lift the head or lower the bowl so that the dough gets slightly redistributed. Scrape down the sides and turn it on again for a few seconds just until all the flour is absorbed. With a dampened hand, remove the dough that's stuck in the beater and give your dough a couple of folds to form a ball. It will be very sticky, so re-wet your hand as needed. Divide the dough into 2 pieces and roll each one into a rough ball. Place a piece of foil on your counter. Flip the dough container over one hand and let the dough slowly drop. Do not yank the dough out of the container so that you don't ruin its round shape. Place the dough oiled side down onto the foil. Oil your hands using the leftover oil in the container. It's normal for olive oil to solidify in the fridge, so don't worry if that happens to you. Press the dough using flat hands. Don't use fingertips so that you don't rip the dough. Avoid focusing on any one spot. Move your hands around to maintain an even thickness throughout the dough. You can make the dough round or oval, whatever works for you. Stop when the dough is about a 1/4 inch thick. If you get a little hole, don't worry about it. It will taste just as good with a hole as it will without it. Cover the dough with plastic wrap and let it sit while preheating the grill. Turn all the burners to high and preheat the grill for 15 minutes. Melt 2 tablespoons of butter, add a garlic clove grated on a microplane zester, and add a little squirt of freshly squeezed lemon, though that's optional. Add a generous pinch of salt and mix to combine. This is enough for 2 flatbreads. Brush the grill thoroughly. You don't want your last meal sticking to your flatbread. Dunk a paper towel in neutral oil and brush the grate holding the towel with tongs. Using a peel or a rimless baking sheet, slide the foil with the dough onto the grate. Cover the grill and cook for 2 minutes or until the edges look nicely browned and the dough is bubbly. Using tongs, move the foil so that one side is dangling off the edge of the grill. Foil is thin and it cools off almost instantly. Pick it up with 2 hands and flip it over. Cover the grill. Every 10 seconds, rotate the flatbread slightly to give it more grill marks. Here is the first rotation. Here is the second rotation. After 3 to 4 rotations, you are done. Check if the bottom is brown enough to your liking. If not, you can give it another minute on the foil side. Slide onto the baking sheet and take off the grill. Give it a minute to cool off, then peel off the foil. Spoon garlic butter all over the bread. You'll need about half the butter since you'll have another flatbread to grill. I only grilled one for the video, but most good-sized grills will fit both flatbreads at the same time. Some fresh cilantro or mint is a nice touch. Either serve immediately or cover it tightly with foil for a few hours. Before serving, place it on a hot grill for a minute to re-warm. If this dough looks familiar, it's because it's exactly the same as my pizza dough. Since I made a video about it already, I looked through the comments so that I could answer all the frequently asked questions. Can you give me a recipe in cups? Flour is a powder. It's compressible. If you're measuring it with cups, God knows what you're going to get. My cup of flour is roughly 142 grams, so 226 is somewhere between 1.5 cups and 1 2/3 cups. But seriously, get a scale. Why are you not using active dry yeast? Active dry yeast has a tendency to go bad even if the package is unopened and the expiration date is in the future. SAF instant dry yeast is reliable and easily available on Amazon and at Whole Foods. If you store it in the freezer, it will last for many years. I keep a small amount in a jar in my fridge and use it within a year. Then get a new clean jar and pour more yeast from the freezer into it. Why don't you give the weight for salt, sugar, and yeast? I'd be happy to give you the weight, here you go, but it's small enough that a regular kitchen scale will not weigh it accurately. You'll need a high precision scale for such small quantities. If you want to get one, they're cheap and available on Amazon. Why do I have to use Diamond Crystal Kosher salt? You don't have to. You can use any salt that dissolves well. Morton's kosher salt does not dissolve well, but Morton's table salt is fine. If you want to use something other than DCK or table, you'll need the same weight as I use, but different volume, because different salts have different crystal structure. If you don't have a high precision scale, look at the nutritional label for your salt to figure out what 5.7 grams of your salt will be in teaspoons. Here are more very detailed culinary tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.